There's only a few more months left in 2025, and there's still a lot of movies left to see. Not just movies that have yet to come out, but movies from earlier in the year I didn't get to see when they first released. So as I am traveling around a lot recently and haven't been able to make one of my usual videos, I thought I would make a quick video talking about some of the movies I've seen this year that I have yet to review. I'll be going in no particular order, but I will be giving my ratings for each. Also, a quick caveat, I will not be covering any horror movies in this list, mostly because I'm saving those for their own list in October. And if there's a movie not on this list, be sure to let me know down in the comments what I need to make sure I see before year's end. Cool? Let's go. As someone who grew up with Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack, I would consider Genndy Tartakovsky as one of the greatest voices in American animation. But he's not always making sunshine and rainbows. For every primal, there's unfortunately a fixed. I will say, I didn't hate this movie as much as a lot of other people seem to. Yes, it's raunchy, explicit, and shows off more dog balloon knots than you're probably looking to see, but that being said, the 2D animation is fantastically fluid and the voice cast is fairly solid. That being said, the script is certainly the film's worst enemy. A lot of scenes feel really padded for time, rambling on for no real reason than to get to that 90-minute mark. And yeah, a lot of the comedy does fall flat as you can only make balls and poop jokes so funny. But there's still some surprisingly nice character development here, even if the overall message is a tad basic. It's far from the deplorable schlock people online have made it out to be, but it's also certainly far from Genndy's best. I'm giving this film 2 tennis balls out of 5. It's an intriguing premise. A car thief is locked inside the inescapable automobile of a dying madman and must find a way to escape before he's starved to death. For a film mostly set in just one tight location, I thought the camera work was really well done, fluidly moving through the car while hardly ever feeling limited in its motions. The secular location definitely forced the filmmakers to get creative with their blocking and presentation, and I definitely respect the film for that. Bill Skarsgård is overall pretty solid, and Anthony Hopkins manages to be fairly entertaining despite mostly just being a disembodied voice. But if you're gonna be stuck in the same place all movie, you're gonna need a much stronger story to tie into it. There's a lot of talk about class disparity going on here, and it doesn't really play into the story too much, kind of just feeling like the film needed something to talk about to make this thing feature length. And because of the structure, I didn't really find it all that tense, despite the booby trap car being a fairly interesting setup. Not terrible, but nothing all that memorable either. Giving this one 2.5 cookies out of 5. Oh, yes, indeed. I really dug this simple but heartfelt film about an eccentric lottery winner inviting his favorite musical artist to his reclusive island for a private show. I know that sounds like the setup to a horror movie, and in some ways this kind of is, but the final product ends up being incredibly sweet and funny. Tim Key is endearingly clueless here, never really stepping into the territory of annoying the audience rather than the other characters. Tom Basden and Carey Mulligan are equally great as well, embodying a past lovers dynamic that keeps things grounded and believable, foregoing fairy tale cliches in order to reflect on acceptance and moving forward in life. It's a very mature film in that regard, but not one that leaves you without anything to nibble on throughout. The comedy is quietly on point, while a will they won't they dynamic keeps you glued despite the fact it's clear where that arc will end up. There were so many chances to take this in a more crowd-pleasing or saucy direction, but its refraining from that honestly makes this feel a lot more realistic and personal. There's decisions that don't give you the happy ending you may expect, but I swear it gives you the ending you need. Great cast, great humor, great film. 4 guitars out of 5. All good things must come to an end, and that includes Tom Cruise's suicidal series. It's very clear there were some issues with making this a direct sequel to Dead Reckoning, as the first chunk of the film feels like a rushed and half-baked race to connect the two movies before finally getting into the movie they wanted to make. Once the ball gets rolling, we do get some phenomenally incredible action sequences, from the retrieval of a hard drive from a rolling submarine at the bottom of the ocean to a mid-air dogfight that involves crews hopping from one biplane to another. The action sequences more than deliver, but the problem is that there's just not enough of them. With this seemingly being the last film in Ethan Hunt's story, there's a lot of character interactions and reminiscing on the past that just does not hit the way it should. The emotional stakes just don't really resonate this time around, and there's far too much expository dialogue to instill any real humanity into this thing. It's a shame this series couldn't have gone out with more of a bang, but you still gotta respect the kind of insanity it takes to make these films the way they are. Good on you, Mr. Cruz. You've earned a $1 donation to your space church. 3 biplanes out of 5. I really like the John Wick films, particularly the world building involved with the Continental and the greater world of Assassins. Yet Ballerina doesn't really add too much to the lore while not really delivering on anything we haven't seen before. Ana de Armas slides effortlessly into the badass role, but the character unfortunately falls into the you killed my father kind of revenge story we've seen countless times. At least the film does its best to make her fight scenes feel noticeably different from Wick's. She isn't necessarily a one-man killing machine, having to adapt and get creative to survive, all while taking a decent amount of punishment. And there's some great action scene concepts here, like Ana taking on goons with nothing but grenades and her fighting off an entire village of killer families. Unfortunately, nothing here really moves the needle quite like John Wick 4 did, both in story or presentation. It certainly retains most of the bloody fun the series is known for, but in the process, it also sacrifices memorability. So I think I'm feeling 3 ice skates out of 5 on this one. Comedy is alive and well in 2025, thankfully, and One of Them Days is one of those films that threatens to be swept under the rug because of its early in the year release. But you should definitely give this a watch, as it's an incredibly entertaining modern slacker comedy. Keke Palmer is great as always, while SZA truly surprised me with her comedic chops. Both have great comedic and emotional chemistry between the two, managing to both lift each other up while also inadvertently tearing one another down. The comedy is super consistent throughout, hinging on a lot of memorable and entertaining side characters and even a bit of commentary on gentrification. It's a real odyssey of a film that managed to nail a big-time feel despite the whole thing taking place across only a few blocks, with each new plot thread introduced being more absurd and hilarious than the last. Like I said, comedy is alive and well in the year 2025, and you owe it to yourself to enjoy One of Them Days. I'm giving this film 3.5 Jordans out of 5. For the rate of projects he puts out, I've got to say that Steven Soderbergh has to be one of the most consistent directors out there today. His last few films have been relatively small scale, but the guy just knows how to instill a big fight energy into them. Black Bag is no different, managing to be a sexy spy thriller that holds a lot of physical and emotional stakes despite being fairly contained. The script is super tight with tantalizing and prodding dialogue that makes everything from a therapy session to a little fishing trip exciting and tense. And while it may lack the big, bombastic moments you might expect from a political thriller, this still managed to hit good and hard with the warring between love and country. Plus, we get to see Pierce Brosnan go from playing Bond to basically playing M. It's a subversive spy movie in all the right ways, with a handful of gripping scenes that will leave you questioning your next invite to a dinner party. Good stuff, Soderbergh, and yes, we will be talking about that other movie of his next month. But for now, 4 movie ticket stubs out of 5. I can't believe Sony, the company that can't seem to make one good live-action superhero movie nowadays, is absolutely killing it in the animation department. The same people who made the Emoji Movie. Their latest outing involving a K-pop trio that are also demon hunters is a ton of fun, being bright, energetic, and action-packed. Oh, and as you would probably hope, the music is great too. I'm not even a K-pop stan like that, but there's some genuine bops here, with most of them being tied to some incredibly well-choreographed action sequences. The film retains some of that lower frame rate animation we're used to seeing in the Spider-Verse films, but injects a little bit of anime influence into it with over-exaggerated expressions and emotional visualizations. I love the relationship between the characters, and it's light commentary on the stress and fickleness of the music industry, though the story can be pretty cliche at times and the comedy didn't always work for me. Even still, it's very hard not to have a good time with this, K-pop fan or not. Now all we need is a ska vampire killer movie and then we're really talking. 3.5 microphones out of 5 for this one. Darren Aronofsky is one of those directors that makes you go, damn, man, you good? His work is often not for those looking to have a grand old time, usually containing dark and depressing themes that aim to absolutely ruin your day. It's these darker focal points of his career that made me a bit skeptical to hear that he was making a dark crime comedy. But if I may borrow from some sports terminology like the title does, I think Aronofsky slam dunked this thing. Baseball lingo. Caught Stealing is a high-octane odyssey across pre-2000s New York that manages to entertain while never shying away from some of that darkness Aronofsky's work is known for. Austin Butler proves his star power tenfold here, while the rest of the film is stuffed to the brim with entertaining character performances. From Hasidic mobsters played by Vincent D'Onofrio and Liev Schreiber, to Matt Smith being the walking embodiment of the UK punk scene. This thing is just one gut punch after another as things get increasingly worse, leaving you wondering just how Butler's Hank can get out of this one. But despite its bleakness at times, the film manages to be consistently funny, proving Darren does have a sense of humor to him. Who knew? At the end of the day, I think the film lacks a bit of an oomph in its style and story that keeps this from being super memorable, but you don't always have to be reinventing the wheel to make something good. Sometimes all you need is a thrilling story and fun characters to really have a hole-in-one. Baseball lingo. I'm giving this film 3.5 fake poops out of 5. I genuinely don't know where to start with this thing. It has been so long since I've seen a film that just fails at everything. The characters, the writing, the special effects, it's all just so universally terrible. This is truly an incredible achievement in film, thanks to a level of ineptitude and incompetence not always seen in something as big as a Universal and Amazon joint partnership. It takes perhaps the measuring stick of the alien invasion genre and turns it into a laughable, brain-dead, preschool-level film that cannot do a single thing right. Veteran actors perform like this is their first role ever. The special effects are laced with poorly keyed and atrociously rendered models that never once feel present or believable. The emotional themes about disconnecting from online to be with our loved ones is so trite, so middle school PSA level deep that there's not a chance you'll feel anything for a single character. The use of technology, which is core to the film's presentation, is utilized in the most childish and infantilizing way that genuinely makes me think those who made this think we're too stupid for a film like this. The Amazon product placement? Good God. This genuinely feels like a red herring from one of the biggest global corporations in the world to convince you that they would never do something like steal or mishandle your data. I was laughing through most of this, but only because there is not one redeemable element to this film. It's as if Neil Breen was backed by one of the biggest studios in filmmaking, which, just by that caveat alone, makes this less admirable than a Neil Breen film. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, this is a half drone out of 5 movie. Unironically, one of the worst of the decade, maybe even of all time. And I think that's enough for now. Like I said before, if there's any film that's already come out that you think I should watch that I haven't covered, let me know in the comments below. I will be back with a review and cocktail again soon, but until then, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.